by faith, I'm His, I'm loved, I'm accepted, I'm justified, I'm in Him, I'm dead already, I've passed through judgment into eternal life. And the mark of that is hatred for sin. Verse 13, for if you are living according to the flesh, you must die. But if by the Spirit, this is whom you owe everything. If by the Spirit you are putting to death the deeds of the body, you will live. So you don't owe the flesh anything. Rather, you owe the Spirit everything. Verse 11, you owe Him your future resurrection. Verse 13, you owe Him every ounce of energy that goes into persevering unto that resurrection. If you make it to that resurrection, you owe it to the Spirit, not the flesh. And in that resurrection, you will owe it to the Spirit, not the flesh. And you owe the Spirit everything. He's the one who enables you to make war on the flesh and kill the deeds of the body. And He's the one who will one day bring it all to consummation by raising us from the dead into everlasting joy and life. That's what I tried to show last time. The threat is real and the demand is an all-out fight against sin. In other words, until you believe that life is war and that the stakes are your own soul, you will probably play at Christianity. Are you playing? There will probably be no blood earnestness in your life about warfare on your own sin. There will probably be very little vigilance, no passion, no wartime mindset. And if that's where you are this morning, your position is very precarious. The enemy has lulled you into sleep, into a peacetime mindset. And oh, how many millions of professing Christians have been lulled to sleep and into a peacetime mindset. Nothing is at stake here. Nothing very serious. And God in His mercy and providence has brought you here this morning, and this message is designed by Him to waken you to the seriousness of what is at stake and how to join Him in the battle against the sins that make war against your own soul. Listen to the words of Jesus. If your hand or your foot causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it from you. For it is better to enter life crippled or lame than to have 2 hands and 2 feet and be cast into eternal fire. Do you want to enter life? Get violent. This is a radical picture of an assault and a violent warfare on our own sin, by which we enter into life or not. Now lay that verse on top of Romans 8:13. Romans 8:13 says, if by the Spirit you are killing, putting to death the deeds of the body, you will live. If you want to enter into life. But if you want to play, you're in a precarious position. So wake up, believers. Wake up. If you're playing, if you're coasting, if you have a peacetime mindset, if you think Christianity is a settle in, all is well kind of ho-hum thing, you better wake up. The stakes are very high. Get a wartime mindset. Stop making peace with ears and eyes and hands and feet and tongues. Stop making peace with the members of your body that sin. Kill them. Ed Welch wrote a book last year, published it last year, called A Banquet in the Grave. It's a great title. It's taken from a proverb. It's a book on addiction. Addictions. I commend it to you. This is a sentence from an article that he wrote in preparation for that book. There's a mean streak to authentic self-control. Self-control is not for the timid. When we want to grow in it, not only do we nurture an exuberance for Jesus Christ, we also demand of ourselves a hatred for sin. The only possible attitude toward out-of-control desire is a declaration of all-out war. I hear so many Christians murmuring about their imperfections and their failures and their addictions and their shortcomings, and I see so little war. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Why am I this way? Make war! Don't just bellyache about your failures. Make war! He says, I'm continuing the quote, there is something about war that sharpens the senses. You hear a twig snap or rustling of the leaves and you are in attack mode. Even after days of little or no sleep, war keeps us vigilant. There is a mean, violent streak to the true Christian life. But now let's very carefully ask, violence against whom? Or what? Not other people. Not other people. Not wives or husband or children or ornery bosses. But on every impulse in our soul to be violent to other people. Violence, a mean streak in Christianity, against our own selves. And all in us that would make peace with sin and a settling in peacetime mindset. We make war on that in us. It's a violence against all lust in ourselves. All enslaving desires for food, caffeine, sugar, chocolate, alcohol, pornography, money, the praise of man, approval of others, power, fame. This is our enemy. This is where we make war. Indifference to poverty and indifference to abortion in our souls. Did you know that in the warfare of Romans, Satan doesn't show up until chapter 16? We tend to think of spiritual warfare as this little thing where you find some way to pray or some way to lay hands on or some way to do a Satan thing. Well, that's important. Believe me, that's important. We war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and world rulers of this present darkness and spiritual hosts of wickedness in the heavenly places. That's important. But you know what? It's not nearly as important as this. Because the only foothold Satan has in your life is your flesh and your sin. Nobody goes to hell because of Satan. The only reason we go to hell is sin. Much more important than fighting Satan is fighting sin. And therefore, I really care about us learning how to do this battle.